a born-again Bola Tinubu follower, or where did the change happen?
Well, there's a saying, results cancel insults. We said we're going to do certain things. The first, we're going to remove fuel subsidy. The second, we're going to float the Naira. The third, we're going to devolve power from the federal government down to the local levels. And then we're going to have student loans. All of these four things that we said we're going to do, President Bola Tinubu is doing them, and he began doing them on day one. Like I told you, results cancel out insults. So when I saw the results that the president was doing, I decided that, okay, this is a man to be supported. You got to recall, Nigeria is our goal, and we are goal-oriented. I'm a goal-oriented person. So when I see that the goal that I had is being promoted by the president, why should I fight him? He's doing exactly the things that we said we're going to do. And when we saw that this man is delivering results, not activity, I think it's wrong for anybody not to support him, because Nigeria is our goal.
But in all of this, at a time you do not believe in the capacity, either mental, educational, or even a political capacity of the then candidate of the APC, as it then was, the candidate of the APC, who now the president of Nigeria, compared to the likes of Atiku Abubakar and Peter Obi.
No, that's not accurate. No, that's not accurate. Please go back.
You didn't think.
I always said it is accurate. It is accurate for Waziri Atiku Abubakar. But if you go back, even during the campaigns, I always said that candidate Bola Tinubu was better than Peter Obi. I never said that Peter Obi was better than him. So that statement is correct.
So is it a factual for you now? And because you like to talk about facts and data. Would you see, considering, I watched an interview with Mr. Peter Obi on another television who was talking about the things that this president has done and the fact that they could have been done in a more organized way. Some similar policy decision as enshrined in their different manifestos, but it was badly handled by the APC and the Bola Tinubu government. Do you see all the view that the president and his party, APC, are better, or, I mean, Peter Obi is not better than them in terms of how they envision these ideas?
I still hold that view that the president is by far better than anything Peter Obi would have done. Peter Obi, as governor of Anambra, is the only governor in the last 26 years that increased poverty in Anambra. The two governors before him did not increase poverty. The governor after him did not increase poverty, but Peter Obi increased poverty. So he does not have the moral authority to talk. And then he said something about, criminality. Look, of all the major presidential candidates in the last election, only one person was indicted by the International Consortium of Investigative Journalism for fraud, and that was Peter Obi in the Pandora papers, where he was accused of illegally taking money out of Nigeria and putting it in foreign accounts. Recently, in that same interview, he said that he left $150 million and 36 billion naira into the Anambra state coffers. That is actually a lie. This is a man that left 127 billion naira debt. Please, you can fact check me. And if you quantify the debt with the money that he left behind, the debt was more than what he left behind. And even what he left behind, some of it he claimed was in assets. For example, he said that he had invested some of the Anambra state government money in Interfax breweries. And if you go back and look, he invested, I think it was about $12 million. Today, that $12 million investment at Interfax breweries is now worth $5 million. And even the worst part of it is that the money that he said he kept them in his in a bank in which he has substantial shares, about 10% shares. So that means that money was earning interest for that bank, so that money was going into his own pockets. So Peter Obi does not have the moral right to criticize President Bola Tinubu.
So you talked about Atiku Abubakar, and you said the only person you think that out of the two, that you think Bola Tinubu is better off is Peter Obi. But what about Atiku Abubakar? Is Bola Tinubu better than Atiku Abubakar?
I am not going to criticize Waziri Atiku Abubakar, and I'm not going to compare him with President Bola Tinubu. What I will just say is that if an election is held today, tomorrow, or in 2027, I will vote for and I will mobilize people to vote for President Bola Tinubu.
So it's funny when you hear Reno Omokri talking about these statistics. And you see, the funny thing is this auditioning that he's doing to get a place with within the Bola Tinubu administration is so obvious for even the blind to see. They come, the likes of Reno Omokri, they come on TV and give these statistics that make them sound intelligent. Until you start to fact check them and you see that what he's talking about is rubbish. You know, the the most believable person you can have is somebody who sounds intelligent, because you feel like they're communicating intelligently what they're saying, and because they like to throw statistics, it makes you want to feel like they're saying the truth. But when you go and check all the things that Rene is saying, Rene is just cherry picking what he wants to say, whilst he's auditioning for the Bola Tinubu to go into working within the Bola Tinubu administration. It says that he does not see any reason why anyone should not support Bola Tinubu. He also says that Bola Tinubu is way far better than Peter Obi, this same terrible Bola Tinubu administration. Now, I'm going to piece for you, I'm going to break down into smaller parts all of these things that he talked about, but I want to explain something to you why I think that this fierce attack on Peter Obi is deliberate. First of all, you don't see them attacking Atiku Abubakar as they do Peter Obi. You don't see them attacking Amoyele Sowore as they do Peter Obi. If you look at the 2023 election manifestos, one of the first few people that brought that one out was Peter Obi and maybe Amoyele Sowore. And Peter Obi did say he was going to float the currency, he was going to remove subsidy. But he did say clearly that he was going to do it in an organized manner. And he's not been able to tell clearly what do you mean by organized manner. But you need that part of the condition to see what the data is before you now start to in phases remove those subsidy and floating in Naira. That's what he said. I don't think you should have floated in Naira, but that's his policy. That's what he was proposing. Say he was going to do that, but he was going to make sure that it's production first before he floats the Naira. Do you understand? Unlike what Bola Tinubu did. So Reno then says that Bola Tinubu is meeting those manifesto points that he had, at the PDP had, and that he doesn't see any reason why Peter Obi is complaining. Now you can see that. You see? But he says he's still going to campaign for Bola Tinubu in 2027. But let's break down all of these talking points from Reno Omokri. You know, but again, like I mentioned, what I think Reno is doing is that Reno has made his political calculation, knowing that for Atiku Abubakar, he's done with politics. If he does not win in 2027, he's done. Assuming that Bola Tinubu wins, which his calculation is that Bola Tinubu has every likelihood, seeing that he's captured more of the state infrastructure, then he has every likelihood of winning. So he's going to switch sides. He's going to openly say, I'm going to campaign for Bola Tinubu completely. Do you understand? So he said that because he knows that 6 years, if Bola Tinubu wins the 2027 election, he will be there for 2 years now and another 4 years, 6 years. So he's better off moving signs, just as Wike is doing, and the others are doing, rather than sticking with Atiku Abubakar. That's what he's saying. The second part is looking at who has the biggest challenge against Bola Tinubu. That's Peter Obi. I'm going to attack him. For me to be relevant for Bola Tinubu, I'm going to attack Peter Obi. And that's where you see this, fierce attack on Peter Obi coming from. That's the simple summary. Now let's break down all this nonsense he was talking about Peter Obi increasing poverty in Anambra. There was a 1-year period where poverty increased between 2009 and 2010, but there was never data. Remember, he was governor from 2006. It was impeached, and he came back in 2007. So there's no data to show to say was there poverty increase in 2007, 2009. But what Reno is saying is taking the data from 2009 to 2010 and saying this is where there was poverty increase. So he's taking that part and saying, all right, well, what about from 2010 to 2013 or so when he continued, or 2014 when he left? Nothing to show. So they're not speaking truth to that fact that the data is not complete, but they're only cherry picking what he's saying. So that's why I say Reno sounds as though he's intelligent, but he's speaking rubbish. And like I said, he's only auditioning. In terms of the assets and the liability, Peter Obi left a lot of reserve for Anambra State, and the fact shows that. For example, 86 billion in assets excess. You take a 5 billion liabilities out of a 91.7 billion. You have an 86.7 billion in assets or reserves that Peter Obi left behind. And these are facts to corroborate. There are facts to corroborate that. You can even Google that, it's online. There's nowhere to show that Peter Obi, because he said that several times, he was the only governor, if not one of the only governors. I did not borrow internally, domestically, or foreign during his term as governor for 8 years. So some of these claims that You have Reno coming on TV to make, and it sounds as though it was intelligent and wants Nigeria to believe him. It's rubbish. You understand? I know Nigerians have come to know Reno for double speaking, and that's what he's currently doing. You understand? So for me, I think this is not to hold brief or carry water for Peter Obi. Like I said, I am independent in my thinking. You know, I don't support one politician because they can jump from one party. I just want look at their policies and see what they want to execute. Look at their character. In terms of the Pandora's paper report, it's shown to show track records of what that transaction was. So if they're indicting him for it, let the federal government go and say, okay, we're going to indict you for this transaction, and you can bring proof. So if Pandora is saying you stole from the state, then government go take that thing, but they've not been able to probe him. So it just means that what Reno is saying doesn't carry water still. You know, but my point basically here is this, right? If you look at the sum total of what is literally going on in Nigeria, you realize that all these talking heads and spokespersons, they're all coming and auditioning. The other one was that Shegun Showumi or some guy already, the PDP guy that's saying he still thinks he might switch, has a good heart to switch to APC, something in that regard, and I can't quote him completely or verbatim. But what I'm trying to say basically is that all of these guys are coming on TV and they know that they need to switch sides quickly. And because their political calculation is that for them to be relevant, they need to move to APC side. And that's where they're all running to. And that's why you cannot trust the likes of Reno coming on TV and talking rubbish. He's spilling nonsense out of his mouth. You understand? The data shows it. You know, but as for us Nigerians, we have to be sure to make sure that we look at the policies of these individuals. For me, I think you have to still give credit to Amoy Elishore for saying that it was not going to float the Naira, it was not going to remove subsidy because it benefit Nigerians. You understand? But until you get into power, before you don't realize how difficult it is. But Bola Tinubu, the way and manner with which he went about it, without the proper data, shows you that you're not producing. Nigerians are in trouble, and you remove subsidy, and then you float the Naira, and then we're in trouble. And then Reno says Peter Obi is less compared to Bola Tinubu. I don't know what you make of it, but put your comments in the comment section. I've just been able to give you a breakdown anyway, but let us know what you think. But don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'll catch up in the next video as always. God bless you. Bye-bye for now.